Real time is becoming more and more important to all our clients in terms of movement of funds. And we are seeing this in the advent of instant payments becoming more and more popular around the world. In Europe, we've got SEPA instant payments really starting to enable transactions between various parties throughout the EU. And they're using the ISO 20022 standard in most of these schemes now to allow the rich data that is contained within an ISO 20022 message to be transported between all the parties. The challenge though is that some of the existing message types in NT standard for SWIFT is going to go through a 2-3 year timescale of movement into the ISO message. The ISO message gives that data construct that clients can use, we can use for the provision of very much rich data and data analytics, but the time frames required to move all the systems, and that means from end to end, is going to take a long time to mature. But the thinking must start now. Yes, for banks as they have their migration platforms enabled for the consumption of ISO 20022, but corporates also need to think and plan to use this data to allow straight-through processing and the usage of the data that this provides to them for their business management purposes. Yeah, it's a very good question. We're still seeing instant payment schemes developing throughout the world, but there are more and more coming up all the time. The first and foremost focus is of course domestic, because that's where the volume business case is, particularly with consumers. But there is more and more demand now for cross-border, and we're starting to see quite clearly, technically, that's available. We've got examples in the Nordic community, we've seen some examples in Asia, and SWIFT of course have got their own infrastructure plans to enable this as well. We actually see the challenges more actually on the players and the regulations, allowing the actual movement of money, the control and regulation of data associated with the payments to be more of the challenge now. And perhaps that's something all players can combine to make sure that the opportunity that the cross-border instant payment provides can work, yet meets our obligations as a regulated institution. In Standard Chartered Bank, we've adopted a cloud-first strategy, and it's been accelerated by the pandemic because we see the benefits that the cloud brings to the organisation through heightened security, ability to roll out new products quicker, and of course to scale. And scale is going to be the important one going forward as we see volumes and digitisation driving the future of our business. Developing our payments capability into the digital world is paramount. But once you've built that, it really is in some ways a commodity, because most of our banks and competitors will have that base capability of exchanging payment messages. So the differential is at either end of that payment message in terms of what and how we give that information to our clients, and indeed what the beneficiaries also receive. So it will be ideals of completely straight through processing. Can clients stop having to partake in analysis of transactions that come in? Where does the transaction information go in their organisation? And we see the world of APIs is really driving some of that additional flexibility that our corporate clients need, in terms of instead of always going through a clunky approval process, that we can get to the point of where this data is important. So for example, in the e-commerce world, adding value of services in terms of provision of payment gateways and allowing them to execute the transaction at the point of consumption by the client will really help us make sure that we are developing and keeping in mind with our clients' own journey in digitisation.